Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Expansive CEO podcast. I'm Hannah and Lauren's here.
Hi, friends.
We're here together. And we have all kinds of updates. Really, we got a lot of stuff happening, flowing through. And it was is it a hard week? It was a very so this past week, we're recording this on Monday, June 29th for release on Tuesday, June 30th. This past week, I was just talking to my husband about this yesterday. It was I described it as it was kind of a multicolored week. Like if you like green is like good week, I'm feeling great. You got yellow, you got blue, you got, what are your emotional colors? It was a very multicolored week for me last week.
Yes.
Lots of highs and lows. Um, and we wanted to talk about that today because, I mean, what is business if not and life, right? If not just like a multicolored emotional tapestry
Yeah.
all the time.
What is that musical?
Jesus Christ Superstar?
The Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Is that the
Joseph,
same?
no, that's a different one. Joseph and the Amazing
Amazing
Technicolor
Technicolor
Dreamcoat.
Dreamcoat.
Yes.
Yeah. Never seen it, but that's the visual that came through my head.
Hilarious. I have also never seen it. I've never seen either one of those.
Nope. I haven't either.
Actually, but
Nope.
they are culturally known.
Yes. I mean, sometimes I'll break out the songs from them. Again, never seen a darn thing. So it's fine.
Fair enough. Fair enough. No, it's hilarious. So yeah, we wanted to especially talk, expansive CEO being the name of the podcast and, talking about learning out loud and transforming out loud. And, um, like even as we heal and move through things and get better and more regulated and be in line with our human design and our gene keys and all these things, there can still be times where stuff is just hard. And we got to like sit with the emotions, still keep moving, right? Like it's all together. So this all was with regards to the X Squared website. We did a big, heavy rebranding,
Yes.
and it was a big team effort, right? Between me and Lauren and our EA, Svetlana, and producer. Thank you for always being such an amazing producer, Svetlana,
Yeah.
of the podcast. It was a full team effort. And as with a lot of things, kind of like right there at the end, there were things that just had to be done that only I have access to. So that being like the domain names. So, I have all of those in my own email. I use Namecheap, not that it matters, but just in case anyone's wondering. So I use Namecheap for my domains, and we used Squarespace for the X Squared website. That's where it's been. It's been on Squarespace for a long time, since I think um 2021, I
Yeah, I was
think.
going to say 21, 22. So somewhere in that.
Yeah, something. It wasn't the very first place I had my website. It was the second place I've had it. But it's been on Squarespace for a long time, and they've gone through different updates and iterations in their own back end since then. And so that last we did a lot of it looks beautiful, the language is good, the pictures are good, like it's ready to go. And then it was like, okay, it's time. It's time to switch from, we had an old Squarespace instance, and it's time now to take X Squared Wealth Plan, X2 Wealth Planning is the technical name, .com, take it off, disconnect it from the old instance, and connect it to the new instance. And I was the one who had to do that. In this instance, that is not, not everyone has to do that. You might have a web developer that is doing all of these things for you. Um, I have done a lot of the website stuff, and Lauren you've done a ton of the website stuff for your own websites. Svetlana has managed her own websites for years. We got a lot of website management experience on
Yes.
the team.
All
So
self-taught, by the way.
well,
So there's that.
right, self-taught, um, but also, I mean, like, literally, I understand how to go in and, work at with all my C names and A records and TXT records and my domains, right? All of that, like, I know a lot of things that are insane, for a financial advisor anyway, right? Like,
Yeah.
that being my actual job. So, as I'm doing this, it's already been, I have been noticing, um my own stress around wanting the website to be live and wanting the website to be, because it's different. It's got some different language, it's got different visuals. It's upgraded in a lot of ways. And was feeling over the last couple of weeks like really wanting it to be done, wanting it to be done, wanting it to be done. So I've got that, kind of stress that I didn't really notice, or was kind of keeping at bay. And then when it was time, go time, basically, disconnecting from the old instance, connecting to the new instance, I was hoping, fingers crossed, we're going from Squarespace to Squarespace, that it would be almost instantaneous. Well, instead of instantaneous, it was taking literally, first it was, it didn't update overnight. I did this I want to say the first time I made the switch was at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time last Monday, and the whole rest of the day I was an anxious wreck. Tuesday, woke up, it was still not working. Tuesday afternoon, still not working. Wednesday morning, still not working. So we're still with it. It's like, and I went through Squarespace Help. I went through, um, speaking with people, and they're like, "Oh, well, it's in that 48 to 72-hour window. You just have to wait. You just have to wait. You just have to wait." And oh my God, Lauren, yeah, maybe you can ask you for a second. I would love to know what you were noticing of me in this time, because I told my husband, and I told you too, I'm like, I am actually like insanely stressed out right now. Like, I feel inside, I was just like, I felt like I could not, um, stop thinking about the website not working. But what were you noticing from the outside?
Yeah, well, eh, knowing what I know about you and how well I know you, as well as your energy mechanics, what I could sense, even, you being in Arizona, me being in Ohio, was that pressure from both ends, right? The mental pressure of like, just can you just work? Can you this needs to work? And then the physical pressure of just get it done, get it done. Come on, come on. Let's just speed it up. Let's go, let's go, let's go. In that angst that comes when it's completely out of our control, right? There's a different, what I've noticed in learning mechanics, there's a different pressure, or it feels like a different pressure, like coming from the outside in, right? Is the internal pressure that comes of like, let's get the website out is different than the website was out and now it needs to work. It what I sensed from the outside is when you were working to get the website up, it was more of like, okay, that's that in oh God, I wrecked my microphone there. That internal pressure of this energy of like, it's coming. I know how beautiful it's going to be. I want to put it out into the world. This is my creative contribution. Like, I want to get it out. And then once it was out, it was kind of like, "Ugh, okay, okay, but like, it's not working. It's not working. It's not working. It's not working." And interestingly enough, you're still calm as a cucumber, right? It was like the little duck just float, this beautiful swan just floating on
Right, the
on
surface.
the lake, and then underneath it was like, um, And I think that that is what I noticed, and it was more of like, me who I am is like, "What can I do? How can I support you?" And also I noticed the difference between, like, a defined route and an undefined route is like, "It'll come," right? But recognizing that wasn't my place to say that sort of stuff. It was more of like, "How do I support you in this time of feet under the water?" Like, da, 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 da. But also recognizing that you had awareness that it wasn't going the way you wanted it to go. And yes, you were frustrated. And yes, understandably so. And you just kept, you were reaching out to other experts who could give you insights into, okay, if you get to this point, here's what you can do. And you would calm yourself in the moment. Though if I can say it, it was a very mental calming versus a physical calming.
Oh, yeah, physically, I did not feel com
Yes. So that's what I noticed from the outside. It was a very how do what are the words that I want to use? A very erratic calm. Like trying to put the I'm calm.
Mhm,
Yeah. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, and that's so and that was when or Monday evening, again, it was like 4:30 PM where I was like, "Okay, this my hope is that by Tuesday morning, done.
Yes.
It's up, it's working, we can test it, it'll be beautiful." Um, and nope. And the bigger problem, this was actually the part that was making me really, really anxious, was that my email was not working. And the website not working was not my favorite, but because my, x2wealthplanning.com was attached to Squarespace as well, it was blocking my emails.
Yes.
And so I usually I mean, I get a lot of emails, I get a lot of, spam and just whatever emails, but I get, plenty of client emails and emails that I need to get into my, inbox as well, and when my email is silent, that is, like, such a triggering thing for me of, I'm not gonna be okay. People can't reach me. I have prospects. I've had prospect meetings. They need to be able to, like, communicate with me. If my clients need something, they need to be able to communicate with me. And the email not working even for, like, 12 hours, and it was more than that. It was, like, a good 30 hours that my email was down.
Yes.
I was, like, not feeling good
Yeah.
about that.
Well, yes. Understandably. And now that you're through it, right? We talk all the time about like you got to get through the situation in order to really see what you learned inside of it. So when you look back on that, because you had a really interesting ahas when you kind of got through it. What was the biggest like, okay, now I see the mechanics working.
Mhm. Yeah, so on Wednesday, so it had been, Tuesday was a rough 24 hours. Wednesday in the morning, one of, like, I just pause for a moment to say that I just have the best clients. I really do. I love my clients so much. One of my clients was trying to send me an email and it was bouncing back to her. And her husband is a like fractional chief information officer and he does this stuff all the time. And so he reached out to me two different ways on LinkedIn and by text and was like, "Hey, it seems like your website doesn't exist anymore. Can you give me a call?" Because his wife was trying to email me and she's like, "I don't know if it's something wrong with my email or with Hannah's email." And so, I had a conversation with him Wednesday morning and as we looked through stuff and the DNS records in Namecheap and in Squarespace, in the domain section of all, like the technical stuff of what you have to do, we realized that Squarespace kind of just takes over the domain stuff. And his recommendation as a chief information officer was that if he ever has clients that have Squarespace or any other website builder that wants to maintain DNS record control, he tells them not to do that. He always has them keep the DNS record control with whoever if it's GoDaddy or Namecheap or whoever, right? There are lots of different places where you can have your domain registration. And so we didn't do anything in that conversation. That was at like 9 a.m. On Wednesday. But I was like, okay, I'm going to wait just a little bit longer. But I hear what you're saying, and I'm taking that in. And what I knew, and Lauren, I texted you about this. I was like, I am just holding it all together. I just need to go cry. I just need to I cannot do anything. What's hilarious too is that whenever I am having like a really emotionally turbulent day like that, everything tends to get off my calendar. And so we were supposed to have a regenerative wealth program meeting that day, and like a minute after this conversation with my client and friend, they texted and were like, "Hey, can we reschedule today?" And I was like, "100%." Yes, because I am not feeling great. So, but that tends to happen a lot is like other people, will sense somehow through the universal threads, right? And
Yeah.
be like, we're going to do something else today. Great.
Yeah.
So suddenly I find myself, I was literally like I had this conversation. I was like, I have to go finish getting ready for these things. I was literally putting makeup on and like getting myself ready for what I thought I had a 10 a.m. meeting. Look at my calendar. I was wrong. My 10 a.m. meeting is the next day. My 11 o'clock regenerative wealth program just got canceled. So what do I have time to do? I have time to go put my headphones on, lay down, and cry. That's what I needed to do.
Mhm.
I just had to get it out. I just it took me a little bit too, because I was like holding on. It's like it has to work, it has to work, it has to work. It's not working, it's not working. And I'm like this is anxiety. And so, it took me a little bit and like listening to specific Hertz music that's really nice. Give my nervous system a chance to just like let it go, and finally, like after a while, I like finally was able to just like let it out, cry it out, give myself some time. And when I was done with that, I probably gave myself like it wasn't even that long. It was like maybe an hour.
Mhm.
I just needed an hour. And when I was done, and the emotion, like, because it felt like I had been like holding the emotion, like, or like holding it at bay, maybe is the better, no, 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 it's gonna be fine, it's gonna be fine, it's gonna be fine, it's gonna be fine. And then when I finally just like let it all out, it cleared enough to then be able to like, okay, Jack said this, this is his recommendation. This is his recommendation for all of his clients. I know how to take care of this. I'm gonna that's the right move. And literally, so I went through, I changed my DNS records. I did, the stuff that I knew I needed to do. And within 5 minutes, it was less than that, I think, even the website was up. I tested my email. My email worked. I was like, oh my God, so much relief. I felt such relief. But I also like, I knew I had to like let the emotion flow, like stop, like again, holding it at bay to even be clear enough to be able to make a more permanent decision.
What was really interesting to me is as you work through that and, first and foremost, congratulations on all of that. Cause like whenever while I've managed my own website and done all the DNS bullshit and blah, blah, blah. No, I want nothing to do with it, right? So kudos to you for being able to hold it together long enough to, or no, not even hold it together, to allow yourself the moments that you needed in order to do this. So congratulations on truly, I sincerely on that. What was really interesting is when, you and I had the sidebar conversation is when you even got through that part of it. And you brought up the whole repressive, portion of the energy and, that being more on the gene key side. So this is really your area of expertise compared to mine. However, you've made me dangerous enough to understand that, I'm not repressive, right? I have that. Help me out. What's the word?
More reactive.
Yes.
You tend to fall more on the reactive side of the shadow. Mhm.
Uh-huh, sure do. Um, but what's really interesting is that you and I have always talked about, we're both emotionally undefined. And we can a part of the not self side of that energy is we can avoid confrontation and truth. And oftentimes it's not necessarily confrontation or truth with other people. It's our own. Like what is it that we need to face inside of ourselves? And as you talked through it the other day and as you're talking through it now, what's really, really interesting is how those two things for you who is repressive and me who is reactive, how holding on, not naming the emotions are so different. So like kind of walk through what repressive means for you as you've walked through that, but also, generally speaking, but also what is your repressive experience? Because I'm gonna guess it's very different than my reactive experience.
Yeah, yes, and this is so fascinating to me. So you've talked a lot on here about human design. We've talked less about the gene keys. I love them. I think it gives us a it paints another layer of the picture is the way I
Yeah,
want to say it.
yeah,
Because it does give us this different language about the shadow and the gift and the highest expression or the city of every single gate. But with the shadow, it can be repressive or reactive. It has two ways that it can show up. And so that to me is another like a big piece for me is the awareness of like when are things happening? Can we become aware of how our actions are showing up, what's happening sooner? And so having that flag of the shadow is, we'll say, intolerance. And hold on, I'm gonna get it out so I actually say the exact right thing.
yeah,
Um, because I think this one was my conscious sun. So if you're looking at your chart, dear listener, it's the right side of the stack of numbers. It's the very top one is your
yeah.
conscious sun.
It'll be listed under personality.
Personality, right, exactly. So it's that very top box. This is 70% of the energy in your chart comes from this particular placement. And for me, it's gate 4. So I have a 4.6 on my conscious sun or my personality sun. And the shadow of that is intolerance. The gift of that particular gate is understanding. And the city, SIDDHI, or highest expression, is forgiveness. And so that shadow of intolerance, that's exactly what was showing up, right? It was intolerance that it's not working. It's not working. It's not working. It's not working, right? Like it's not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. um, and the repressive versus the reactive, this one's interesting. I don't know if I might have been a little more reactive in this one than normal, but the emotional side was not. The repressive nature of intolerance is apathetic, and the reactive nature is nitpicking. So, to explain that just a little bit, the repressive nature is always going to collapse in on itself. The repressive nature, is I'm not good enough, self blame, self judgment, self harm. Like it's always going to be you're coming back into yourself, I'm not good enough somehow.
Mhm.
The and it's going to tend towards depression.
Mm, mhm.
Depression, melancholy, sadness, right?
Yeah,
Like apathy.
yeah.
This one, apathetic is the repressive shadow. The reactive side is typically going to be anger and blame, and again, the arrows shooting out at everyone else, right? Uh, deflection. It's not me, it's all you a-holes out there, right? Like, clearly, this couldn't be my fault. This is all you. Um, so the reactive nature is typically gonna be outside blaming everything else. But even as like, I'm glad, we talked about that because there was really a mix of that happening last week because I was outwardly like that the repressive aspect of that is even when I'm super anxious, I don't tend to let it leak out onto anyone else, right? Like, and even Lauren, you asking like, what can I do to support? How can I help? Like it's like I'm holding on to everything so much. It's like I don't know what I could give you to like I don't know what I can put down to ask for help with right now.
Mhm.
Because ugh. You know why? Um, because I had to be okay when I was a child. I had to hold it, and I had to do it without anyone else knowing that I wasn't okay. And so that's my pattern. That's my conditioning. So even like that's what was coming up too, right? It's like I've got to hold it all in. This is mine to deal with. Everyone else is going to get the pleasant my pleasant,
Mhm.
right? No one else would be, thinks that they're to blame for what I'm dealing with. They might, if I'm real with someone, I'll be like, yeah, this is stressful. I don't feel great today, but I'm with you right now, so we're going to focus on you, and it's fine. Um, but yeah, inside, like, couldn't sleep, my brain couldn't turn off, like, just not didn't want to eat, nothing sounded good, like I will take care of everyone else, but please don't have anything big that I have to help you with right now, please. And so when I recognized that, and that actually I think that's why when I recognized that I just needed to cry and just like let go of all of that. Again, if I think back to, when I was little, I I didn't have anyone who would allow that, right? That wasn't supported or like held as a healthy expression, like, okay, get it out. So from the reparenting aspect, that's me giving myself time to like actually feel the emotion rather than again, like, nope, you just got to put on the brave face of everything's okay and you deal with it until it actually is okay. And so that same again, like that the repressive nature for me is that I tend to again like keep everything inside until it's okay. And then it's like, "Oh, okay. Well, now it's cleaned up. So now you can come in my room. It's clean. There's nothing messy here. It's all good." So, yeah.
Yeah. And it's a perfect example of why in what we do, we work on the whole person is because these patterns show up in every aspect, including your business, including how you look at money, including how you look at relationships. I mean, business relationships inside of your business, right? I mean, they're all linked, they're all connected, and they're all usually have some root in some sort of conditioning that we normalize for ourselves because we didn't have someone telling us, "Oh, here's your blueprint. Here's kind of what's going to happen in these instances." Now, question I have, because now I'm very curious, do in the world of gene keys, do we all have both aspects of
Yes,
repressive and reactive?
we do.
Interesting.
We do. And one thing that's super interesting with it is that a lot of times it can be you can have one that you tend to be more until you get pushed too far and you'll go the other direction. And so f and so I'm interested because I was gonna ask you about this, so, like, we're going right in there. Because I do tend to be repressive, and most of the people that I talk to that we talk through this, who also tend to be repressive, if pushed all the way, will then lash out, right? Then the reactive comes out.
Mhm.
Um, and that patterning, even talking about the apathy and the nitpicking, of course, can you see where I was nitpicking the hell out of?
Yeah, when that came up, I was like,
Right?
"Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, I see
Right.
it."
Right? And so again, the surface was definitely not apathetic, like I don't care, right? But the surface was definitely like, it's okay,
Y
everything's
y
fine.
yes.
Underneath was the crazy, like, okay, where how when is it gonna be fixed? Like, not who's to blame. There wasn't that necessarily, but there
No.
was like, it's not working and it's supposed to be working and it needs to be working.
Yeah.
Um, so that aspect of, tending toward the repressive until I have been pushed far enough that the reactive is my only next step.
Right.
Where on the reactive side, if you tend towards to start from that, like, pushing, pushing, pushing until, like, I'm not getting what I want, like, just forget it. Is that more your experience? I'm curious.
Yes. Yes, I tend, being a 17-1 as my personality son, I can't remember what the
We're looking
shadow
it up.
to city is, but yeah, I tend to be more reactive. Like if I'm feeling something. So this is what I think is really interesting. Both of us being undefined emotionally. I can be reactive and you'll know that I'm feeling something. And I'll know that I'm feeling something. But in those moments, it'll just be like, it's going out to everybody else because it's like, I used to say it was because I couldn't handle all of it and it just needed to go out. But like part of it too is that my avoidance of confrontation and truth truly a lot more times is my own emotion. And as I go through my experiment, it is more my emotion than what I might receive from somebody else. It's more of like, oh shit, is this going to be a really emotional thing that I just don't want to deal with? And so I'll just keep like, but I will push it out because I don't want to feel it, but I'm already feeling something. However, if it, that's what I tend to go to is that eventually I will just shut down and it'll just be like, it's fine. It's totally fine. No worries.
Right, and that so the shadow is opinion,
Uh-huh.
the
Mhm.
shadow is opinion, the gift is farsightedness, and the city is omniscience. And so and in Gene Keys, so gate 17 for listener, it's on the ajna, which is the mind, the second triangle from the top, and gate 17 is right there on the left side of the chart.
Left side. Uh-huh.
Um, the keynote is called the closing of the third eye. So the mind, the other, I mean, it's the third eye chakra is the chakra that in chakra terms that it aligns with. And so the shadow of opinion is the closing of the third eye. And what it's talking about is You have an experience, you form an opinion, and then you decide that that's it for the rest of your life. And so you're closed-minded, your third eye is closed, you are closed to new information about this particular topic, you know everything, and no one is going to move you off your opinion. That's the shadow. So farsightedness is, "Oh, you had a similar experience, but it was different in this way. Look at your anecdote. That's different from my anecdote. Oh, well, look at that. Things can be different sometimes." And then you start to form opinions around broader data sets, basically, is what farsightedness is about. But the repressive nature is self critical. The repressive nature of opinion is self critical, and the reactive nature is opinionated.
Yeah.
Opinionated. So, right. So, like, the opinionated is about how everyone else is doing everything wrong.
Yeah.
The repressive nature is how am I doing everything wrong?
Yes. Yes. That is my experience. Um, it's yeah, 100%. My son will tell me, when we get in arguments, because I'm a fully open book here. My sons and I don't always get along, and my older son will has told me when I get angry that there is no moving me off anything. I am right. And it is to that point of, like, when I get to that point, it's like, you will not move me off, and I will continue to tell you how you're wrong and wrong and wrong and wrong and wrong. And then I will get to a point where it's like, yeah, so maybe I'm not right. Maybe there is another way to look at this. And then it'll turn into the very much like, oh, I could have done this and that's instead. Like, I'll replay the whole thing and be like, oh, I didn't hear that then. Or, oh, yeah, that's the instance that I could have done X, Y, and Z. And then I will sit and sit and sit and sit and feel so much guilt and so much blame, I guess. Shame, I think, comes a lot too. And and that's when I'll go back and using the examples with my sons of sit down and say, "Okay, I can totally see where I was pushing to the point where you were no longer listening." And, opening up the conversation of, "Hey, sometimes mom has no idea what she's doing." And by sometimes, I mean 96% of the time. You know? And I've also had that conversation with my sons of, like, I'm working on myself in this instance, right? I'm trying to undo things that were conditioned in me growing
Mhm.
up, and I'm trying to raise you as who you are and figure out who you are, and just to recognize that sometimes those wires, they're gonna get real crossed. Um, and what's really funny is that in human design, I'm not gonna get the language right because I don't have it pulled up right away, but 17.1 does have a blue line, and it's I can't remember the exact wording, but it is about, like, or the maybe it's the exaltation. It's the exaltation of that gate, which is, for dear listener, that's the up arrow or the down arrow. The down arrow is a detriment, but that doesn't mean neither is good nor bad, right or wrong. Um, the exaltation is something of, like, over time, you learn that there's multiple opinions and you can hold multiple opinions.
Mhm.
So that's why I always think that gene keys and human design, they're just work so well together, because it's like, oh, I can see how, gene keys sometimes takes kind of like the next step of, like, oh, I see how that works together.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really funny though, when we were having that conversation behind the scenes of the repressive versus the reactive, we had that conversation of, as a business owner, I mean, you're gonna go through these things. You can't escape them. Even as self-aware as the two of us are, like, we're still at the mercy of, one, our conditioning.
Mhm.
But we're also still at the mercy of our mechanics. Is that sometimes our mechanics just aren't gonna work the way that we think they should or that we want them to. Um, And recognizing that, hey, part of the journey, and part of the most important journey is recognizing when you are dysregulated. I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh, yeah, I'm a little off balance right now."
And that was totally the thing, was that I was very aware probably by Tuesday. Monday, I didn't really see it necessarily. Like, I didn't sleep. It took me forever to fall asleep, and that's usually a pretty big sign for me, is that if my brain just, like, cannot turn off, I'm like, "I need to go to sleep." Um, that was rough, but by Tuesday, I was, like, I could feel it. I was like, and I even mentioned it to my husband, and I was like, "I'm actually, like, really stressed out right now." Like, this is me, like, really stressed, even though I'm, like, got a smile on my face, and I can, I can interact with you about all these other things that are happening. Like, he had a great week. Well, he had the same multicolored week too, but there were some good things that were happening at the beginning of the week. And so it was like, yes, I can be happy and excited for you here. And I'm actually really, really stressed out, like up to here, n- up to my neck, for listeners. And that, like, recognizing that dysregulation, while also, it was like two things. It was like everything, the Squarespace support, everything online was saying, like, okay, you got to wait the 48 hours, maybe wait the 72 hours. If you make any changes, you're going to restart the clock. It might be another 48 hours. It might be another 72 hours. So there's like that aspect of like, okay, I'm like, I'm going to like, it feels like I'm swimming, and like the water's like up to here. I'm like, I'm going to stay here because I don't want to reset the clock. I don't want to have to stay up here longer, while also then, like, realizing finally Wednesday, especially with the email not working all day Tuesday, Monday evening and all day Tuesday, Wednesday morning, just like, oh, yeah, this is not good. I am fully dysregulated right now, even though I'm not lashing out at people. I feel how much stress this is putting on me. And what's important, I think, from what you're saying, in being able to, like, be aware of that. I mean, if I look back, we're in 2026, 6, 7 years ago, I was powering through that dysregulation for months at a time.
Yeah. Mhm.
And, there are so many times in my life where I can remember, I mean, when I even first became an advisor in 2007, I almost gave myself ulcers because I was powering through that dysregulation for so long. And, like that, when we really talk, like, with the repressive side, right? Like that, those instances, 2007, 2019, 2020, especially, um, doing myself literal physical harm by holding on to all of that until, and like this, like keeping my nose barely above water while everything seems okay on the outside, but I am like up to here in, internal dysregulation. It literally did. It was hurting my physical body, not just my mental health and my, you know, own my spiritual health, which I wouldn't even have like called it that before, but like my own, like my connection to me, my connection to myself, my alignment with what I actually wanted to do. And so, yeah, for me, that repressive really, really shows up in like holding it all in and holding it all together with painting the face of everything's okay on the front of it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Something just came up that I've never thought about before is that, I wholeheartedly believe that when we don't process what we're experiencing physically, mentally, and emotionally, like the body will respond and the body will be like start sounding the alarms of, what did this look like? And, for me, being more of a reactive or tending to trend more towards the reactive, right? When you're holding it all in, you're damaging yourself. And in the reactive, I've been told my entire life that you know what I'm feeling. It's written all over my face, it's written all over my sleeve, wear my heart on my sleeves. And I was like, learning human design, I'm like, well, that's not necessarily true. Most people don't actually know what I'm feeling. People know I'm feeling something from a reactive standpoint. Um, and in that kind of pushing out, what literally just surfaced was, where you've talked about damaging yourself, damaging relationships on my end.
Mhm.
The outward um, forcefulness of like, whether unconsciously I feel like I can't hold it in, or for whatever reason, I just tend more towards the reactive. Um, but it's just super interesting of, like, whereas one could have an effect of, physical for the person, mine is the damaging or the wrecking of relationships. And that's where I see the repressive really happening, is that once I get it all out and I've seen what I've done or said or whatever, I'm like, "Oh,"
Mm.
and then I don't wanna confront that because it's like, "Oh, well, here I go again. I unleashed my." But what's really weird is that I'm not unleashing the emotion that I probably feel. I'm just unleashing anger. I'm
Mm.
unleashing frustration,
Yeah.
all starting with me. Right? I mean, it's all the emotion starts with me, and it's starting from whatever I'm experiencing or doing. I mean, I'm fully accountable to the stuff that I do, and I'll be the first one to be like, "Oh, yeah. Oh, so sorry. So sorry that I did that." Um, but that it goes to other people as opposed to me holding it in. But what
Mhm.
then I damage is the connection.
What came up for me as you were saying that was like that yeah, it's the I can totally see that. Not that it's a binary necessarily, like one or the other,
Yeah.
but damaging damaging the relationship to self versus damaging the relationship to others, right? And that's, um, yeah, that's so fascinating. And that's where even in our own, when we start to become aware and go through our own healing journeys, that's one of the reasons why, like, it's so important to learn these things about yourself and pay attention because I had really good support in this, with the coaches that I worked with when I was first, like, figuring this stuff out about myself was, like, I had to reconnect to me. That was really a big, that was my biggest thing that I needed to reconnect to myself because I was so practiced at folding in on myself. Like, I had to like, that I've told this story on the podcast so many times, right? Like, when I was leaving, the firm I was at, like, that connection to my higher self of, like, "You don't know who I am. Like, how dare you tell me what I'm not good at?" Like, she was like, that my defined ego, my defined G center, like, all of that was like, "Absolutely not. Like, how dare you?" Speaking up for me in that moment. And at the same time, right, it was like I had to that's part of me, that's part of my definition, but constantly I was just constantly pushing it down. And so coming back into that connection with myself was absolutely imperative to getting to where we are right now. And that's funny because I just mentioned my ego and my heart center ego, same thing. The little triangle on the right side of the chart, and then my self center, my G center in the middle, and you are undefined in both of those areas. And so that's funny also. I don't know if there's a connection there, but that was just coming up. Um, is an interesting something that we've explored a lot
Yes.
too between the two of us.
Yeah, and actually what came up too is a really interesting thought that never crossed my mind is, right, being a right angle, right? I'm hero of my own destiny. So in some ways, like, yes, I need people. The connection is important. Everybody needs connection to other people. But particularly me being a 1-3, I'm so self-absorbed because I have both lower trigram lines in my profile versus you, a left angle, very social. It is all about the paths you cross with other people. And I just thought of this, but like, what if the not self kind of like opposite direction is, you needing to connect to yourself as a left angle in order to recognize, whereas I need to connect with the connections because I can be so insulary and I can be so, and when I say self-absorbed listener, I mean not necessarily in an egotistical way. I simply just mean sometimes I can't see outside of myself.
Mhm.
Right. And almost kind of like the not self of it is like for you as a left angle 6-2, like always maintaining the connection. Like the connection has to be there. Whereas me is like my not self is like, "Well, everybody else, I don't need anybody else, right? Like let me destroy it because at the end of the day, I've got to be myself and I've got to do what I need to do for me. Whereas, coming back into harmony based on, again, listeners, this is not rooted in anything other than my own insights, but, really kind of coming into our own actual nature is a left angle to be really rooted in themselves in order to be able to get, and whereas right angles being rooted in the connection
Mm,
so as not to lose themselves because they don't connect.
that's fascinating. That's fascinating. So um, to put a little bit of context, for the listener, if you go to your chart, if you go, pause, go grab your human design chart, everyone has an incarnation cross listed on their chart, and it'll either say LAX, which is left angle cross, or RAX, which is right angle cross, um, or juxtaposition.
JUX, yeah.
JUX for juxtaposition. The left angle cross, that's what I am. And it depends on your profile. Like I'm a 6'2", Lauren's a 1'3". You could be a 4'6", you could be a 3'5", you could be a 6'3". There's, a whole bunch. It depends on what your profile is. They're in these different categories. 6'2" is in the left angle cross category. And it means we are here. Your incarnation cross is part of your purpose, like what you're here to do in this lifetime. Left angle cross people, LAX, are here to it's an interpersonal, right?
Yeah.
Interpersonal.
Inter
Like inter. But you and other people, we are here, us left angles are here to fulfill our destiny by being in connection with other people. Is the like shortest way to say it, right? Right angle cross people, RAX, are here to fulfill their destiny by becoming as much of themselves as they possibly like learning all about you as much as you possibly can and allowing that to shine out into the world.
yes.
Juxtaposition, remind us what that one is.
They're the bridge.
The
They
bridge.
they they help bridge, kind of personal destiny, right angle cross to, fulfilling purpose and connection with others. Juxtaposition, they're If you're a 4-1, you're a juxtaposition. That is the only profile that is a juxtaposition. They're kind of the bridge between those two things. And those who are 4-1s tend to be very fixed in their destiny. And so again, this is just Lauren spouting in the moment kind of insights, or at least what felt correct in the moment to mention. Now, that's not necessarily always going to be true for everybody, because if you do experience a more repressive nature as a right angle, you may not necessarily have the same experiences that I do. Or the same with a left angle, who may be maybe more reactive than repressive. But there's all different kinds of factors. It's just recognizing that, hey, maybe sometimes this is just how the mechanics play out. And the 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 moral of the story that we're talking about is kind of going back to what you were saying, of like having the self-awareness of when you're just really dysregulated. Because as a reactive side, I was dysregulated for years and never feeling anything but frustration and always wanting to put it on somebody else. And just normalizing that experience of like, it's just how life is,
Mhm.
because I grew up in a household where one parent was that way. Like everything was always terrible, and the sky was always falling out, just falling. Sky was always falling. um, and everything was just terrible, and I've actually never made that connection either. But could that have been my way of normalizing? Well, it's just how life is. Like, but I think I also knew, like, deep down inside, I was like, that's not sure. Life isn't meant to be all sunshine and roses and easy all of the time, but it's also not supposed to be gray and dark and gloomy and shitty either. And, recognizing that it was the moment of like, I'm so sick of feeling frustrated, and I'm so sick of always pushing it out sometimes. Like I tend to get really tired because there are times when I know that I'm doing it. And I'm like, there will be times with my kids. They probably think I'm absolutely batshit crazy sometimes, but I'll be in the middle of something and be like, no, my bad. I'm done. Like I'm stopping. I'm stopping right now. And then I'll have to go and either journal it out or be by myself and then come back and be like, okay, guys, here's what went down. Here's where I'm really sorry. And I'm working on it. And to recognize that society really talks about regulating. And it's very important. Very, like, we all need to be a little bit more regulated in our own energy. But we can never know until we make some progress towards regulation that
Mhm.
we were ever dysregulated in the first place.
100%. And, like, kudos, really, truly, for being able to do that rather than just, like, continue on the train, to stop the train and be like, "Taking a time out.
Taking a 20, mom's taking a 20.
I'll be back." I just realized something. Let me go check.
Yeah.
And then but then to actually come back, right? That's the piece. To come back and say, "Hey, this is what I am recognizing and realizing." The huge that is so can you even imagine if your parents had done that for you? Right?
No, no. Even at 44, I still don't get that from my parents.
Right. And most of us don't because that was not expected. That was not the way that things were done. When we were kids, growing up in the 80s, 70s, depending on when you were a child, even the 90s, I mean, it's just as like the choices that we make now, the way that we choose to regulate. Notice when we're dysregulated, figure out what we need to do to get to a regulated place and then come back and be the example of that. No notes. Like amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so important.
I appreciate that, because Had you said, even 5 years ago that I would, you even have the wherewithal, sometimes even the desire to do that, I would have been like, "Pff, okay." I mean, sometimes, back then, that version of Lauren would been like, "Well, it's how I deal with things." Well, no, Lauren, that's not how you deal with things. Man, how you dealt with things. Goodness gracious, I can't talk today. How you dealt with things is not how you do it anymore.
Well, and what we've talked about this in the regenerative wealth program, and I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast very much, but this is probably a really good topic for next time, so we should write this
I'll write it
down.
down. You
Write it
say it, I'll
down.
write it down right now.
That, yeah, how you've done things might be fine if you don't care about maintaining that relationship. But if you care about that relationship and how you've been doing it has been hurting the relationship, then you gotta figure something else out.
Yep.
And that's where so many people are, whether it's, um for me, it was starting with my relationship with me, my relationship to myself, right? I was feeling, mm, I don't wanna say lost. I wasn't feeling lost, I was feeling like I was suffocating.
Mm,
That's what it was feeling like. It was like, I was suffocating under all of the armor that I was wearing, all the masks that I was wearing, um, and I couldn't be me. Me was not acceptable in whatever ways was not, whatever situation I was in. And so for me, it was coming back to who am I? Where am I? And then, you know, the relationships, it tended towards, my tendency was people pleasing and perfectionism and emotional holding, right? Again, I'm fine. Everything's good. I feel like shit inside, but I'm gonna make you think I'm okay so that you don't have to worry about what's going on here.
mhm.
Um, which again, the hard part there was then what I had to go through, say especially in my relationship with my husband, was like, I don't know that you love the real me because I haven't been able to like be me.
Mm,
So there were literal years of like figuring out like and trusting when he said, "I love you." It's not I kept thinking like, "No, you love the version of me that I'm showing you." And he like him coming back over and over again like, "No, I love you, all of you. So please like show me the rest." Like, but feeling safe to do that, right? That was what had to come through to, you know, for that relationship to like go through its next evolution. Where for you, what you're mentioning of like, yeah, like maintaining the bond, that's actually, and when we've looked at your natal chart and different like your astrological natal chart, it's so fascinating. Right? Like there's like different things calling that out exactly of like your growth edge that's your Jupiter actually, that's in your conscious Jupiter. Um being in the seventh house placement, it's like your path to expansion is, how do I keep those bonds? How do I stay in partnership, which requires repair?
yes. How do I stay in the right partnership?
Right. Yes.
I think for me, it's been, how do I know what is the right partnership? And then, yeah, how do I know? How do I discern? And then if I discern that it is, how do I stay? Or how do I get it to evolve? Yeah, I think this year particularly, and if we look at like my solar return, I have the channel of community. defined for the year. So I'm learning what's the bargain? What bargain am I really willing to enter into? And I tend to be, it's funny that you say this. I tend to be a people pleaser, perfectionist, and what was the third one you said? Oh, holding all of the emotion. Um, my conditioning though is I do that for love, which we can get into next time. That was deep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so g oh my gosh. It's so much, and it's again, just to, like, kind of, like, wrap up the conversation back into what we were talking about originally, it's like, man, I it was so important. It was so important last week for me to recognize how dysregulated I was and to give myself the time. I needed an hour just to cry it out. And to have done that within 24, 36, but within like 40 hours was like, hey, good. I'm going to give myself a pat on the back. That's good job.
Yeah, it's 1 hour, right? Uh, and we talk that I think a lot of times when we when I say we, I mean collectively, not just you and me. We talk about regulation. It needs to be these grand like gestures of release or sometimes it's just an hour of crying or an hour of walking on the earth or an hour of working out or whatever. Imagine being in that 1 hour, 1/24th of one day, and how much you can give yourself versus just continuing to pushing under the rug, normalizing the it'll be okay, it'll be okay, it'll be okay. Kicking that down the road, kicking that can down the road even further because after, it might by that point it could have been 3 hours, 8 hours, a whole day just to be like, oh. And when you realize it in the moment or as quickly as you possibly and having grace for yourself for not recognizing it like minute 1, right? 1 hour. Listening to, binaural beats, or whatever you were listening to and just letting it come.
Yes, because the clarity was on the other side of that. That was the biggest truth, is that clarity was on the other side, and I knew what I needed to do.
Yeah, fun fact, doesn't matter what you're emotionally defined, emotionally undefined, like, clarity is on the other side of whatever you're feeling.
Mhm.
So, biggest lesson that I've learned, put on your what's the word? Muck boots? Is that what I'm looking for? Like, put
Sure.
on your muck boots and just trudge through it, right? I mean, just like get yourself through it. Because the longer that you put it off, the longer that you avoid confronting the emotional brick wall sitting in front of you, the higher and thicker that emotional brick wall will get.
Yeah, yeah, it just gets scarier and scarier,
Yes.
more daunting, and I truly can say, going back and looking at the website, like, I'm so happy
Yes.
with it. Like, it really that was the other, like, analogy that kind of came to mind last week too, is like, it was like labor, not literally, because that was the hardest thing I've ever done, but, like, the elements of it, right? Like, there were absolute same elements of just, like, the anxiety of, like, the holding on, like, "Ooh, is it gonna be okay?" And then finally, like, "No, we're all done with that. Release. Out. We're gonna figure this out." Um, and I'm so proud of it.
Yes. It's
I don't
gorgeous.
It's so beautiful. I don't think we've ever had a website that felt more resonant and, like, presented everything the way that it's just like, "Yeah, that's it. That's how
Mhm.
it works."
Yeah.
So thank you for all your work with that too.
Of course.
Again, it was a team effort,
Yeah.
team
Yeah,
effort.
all rooted in your vision. So,
Yeah. Super excited. So,
yeah.
dear listener, you can go check it out. It's x numeral 2 wealthplanning.com. Um again, real labor of love. And just really like positions X squared as what it's been. It's not even that's the thing. It's not different. It's not new. It's not, anyone who has been listening to us and following for, the last several years. It's like, "Oh yeah, I thought that's what you did." It just wasn't reflected properly on the website. And now it is.
Yes.
So, we'd love to hear if you go and look. Yeah. Is it I don't need well, we can talk about this too, but I don't need feedback necessarily. I'm not asking for, what it can be better. Um, but it was really fun to hear from a couple of my dear friends of, like, how it made them feel. Like, what do you feel when you look,
Yeah.
when you take it in? Because the reflection there for me was that what we do in the energy that we put in to what we create is reflected on the other side.
Yeah. I have a word. I know what it makes me feel, but
Tell me, I wanna hear.
possibility.
It's a good one.
Yeah, limitless possibility.
Mm, it's good.
What does it make you feel?
Makes me feel like when I just, like, look at it and take it in, like, the imprint that comes up is, "It's safe here." That's what that's what comes up for me. It's like, "Oh, this is safe. This is okay." Which, again, that's exactly the whole point.
The whole point.
Yes. So, if any that would be the question. Like, yeah, what do you feel? What does it evoke within you is the question.
Yeah. Great question.
A good question. Okay. So go check it out. Go see what there is to see, what's new. And of course, for Expansive CEO specifically, go check out Substack. We are uh well, it's 1 month away. July 29th, we will have
Literally tonight. Yeah.
a very fun announcement that is coming. So wait for that. Very exciting.
Yeah.
So we'll tell you more about that in July. But you can go follow us on Substack right now. Go play, see what's happening over there. Yeah, and I feel like there was one other question, but that's probably enough questions for now.
Okay. Yeah. Let them marinate. Let them
Let's
sink in.
let it marinate for now. And of course, we will see you next week. Thanks for being here.
Hi, friends.